Implementing a custom accordion in React Native using Reanimated. We have this initial UI for the accordion items, and the state active index is used to track the currently active item, which we update on click of the item's header with its index value, or set it to -1 if you click on the active item again, indicating that none of the items are active. And based on its comparison with the item's index, which is used as is open prop in the component, we update background color in the border, visually indicating that the item is active. So first we're going to set the position absolute to the accordion content, and we're doing this so that it doesn't affect the dimensions of the container. Also notice that we have a non-style view as a parent of the content, because without this the absolute position on the content view would render it above the title. Having a relative view as a parent makes sure that even with the position absolute, it always stays below the title or the pressable component. But this would of course also show it outside of the item's UI, which we can avoid by adding overflow hidden to the container. Next step is to calculate the rendered height of the title as well as the content to accurately expand or collapse the item. Using the onLayout prop, we can get that data and save them as reanimated shared value for the container and the content. Also, we're using onLayout on the pressable instead of the container to avoid infinite callbacks, as we're going to be animating the container's height to expand or collapse the item, which is also why we're adding the total padding and the border width in the final container height value. Now using useAnimated style hook, we can animate the height of the container view based on the data. It can also auto-expands an active item on initial render according to this calculation, which only applies once both the values are calculated. Other than the height, we can also optionally move other view styles into the animated style hook, though it's not necessary. Now while setting the height data, we can add some conditions to handle some cases. Like we only want to set the value if it is the default, means 0. Because as we are using the spring animation, which can cause the height to fluctuate by the end of the animation, it might cause the onLayout to be called multiple times, especially on iOS based on my testing. So to avoid any incorrect calculations, we can limit it to set only when it is 0, or if the platform is web, because we would always want latest rendered data to keep it responsive for different window sizes. Next, apply the animated style to the view and change it to animated. Finally, declare a shared value for icon rotation as well to indicate expanded or collapsed state. Wrap the icon with an animated view, and in the animated style we can also add icon rotation logic along with the height, where we're gonna rotate it to 180 degree when expanded. And we're done. Here's the result for Android, iOS and web. Also, this was a fairly simple example, but we can also put other types of complex components and they would render accordingly, as you can see here. Now in case you're using Reanimated with Moti, we can make few changes to simplify the solution. Like for icon, we can completely remove the shared value logic, change animated view to Moti view, and rotate the icon directly based on the state change, while specifying the spring config in the transition prop. Similarly, the container can also be changed to Moti view and the animated style to derived value, and pass it as value to the Moti view's animate prop, and move any animation config directly to its transition prop, like here it is for spring, and it should work pretty much the same. Now let's see how this can be done using built-in animated API. Most of the logic will be same. We add position absolute on the content and overflow hidden on the container, and get the height data using onLayout callback. Next, declare an animated value for the height and apply it to the container view's style, and also make sure to change it to animated view. Now unlike reanimated shared value, we used animated style hook to listen to the changes, but we can't do that for the reference values here. So here we need to set its initial value directly on the onLayout using setInitialHeight function, which also makes sure that it auto expands if there is any default active item. Next, in the use effect, we're gonna animate the height, which will trigger with the change in the isOpen state prop. And similar to the previous solution, we added a validation for web and to only update if the container value is 0, to avoid any incorrect calculations. Lastly, declare an animated value for the icon and similarly animate in the use effect. But it directly wouldn't work, so we need to interpolate it into degree and apply it to the animated view we added as a container for the icon. Finally, also make sure to call start on the animation for it to work. And we're done. The implementation is compatible with all the platforms supported by React Native: Android, iOS, Web, macOS, and Windows.